It's the Daily Doug.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. On today's program, my friends, I am returning to the world of gaming, and for the second time, we're going to be hearing music from the game Undertale. And again, this one comes to me from my friend John, who very much enjoys this game, and he very much enjoys the music, and he said, you gotta hear more. You got to hear more from this because there is more to hear. So last September, I heard music from the Undertale video game for the first time. The track that I heard was called Megalovania, and it's towards the very end of the soundtrack, and I remember it being such a fun and groovy track that I have been eager to come back to music from this game by composer Toby Fox. So the two songs that we're going to hear today are called Hopes and Dreams and Save the World. And they also come near the end of this game, and they happen during one of the major boss battles. And I'm looking forward to hearing this. As we recall, Undertale is a role-playing game. It was first released in 2015, and it was created by this independent developer named Toby Fox, and he also is the composer, and he did it all on his own, y'all. It was a Kickstarter campaign, and he had, some help, but it's a major accomplishment to have such a popular game, and you're kind of an independent player. I'm very impressed with his work. So the two songs that we're going to hear today, Hopes and Dreams, it plays during the first phase of fighting against Azrael Dreamoor, who is the final boss of the true pacifist route towards the end of this game. And then the second one, we're going to hear a shorter tune called Save the World, plays later on in that same final boss fight against Azrael. As I understand it, these are both instrumentals, and I am looking forward to hearing them. So let's get to it. Here is some music from Undertales by Toby Fox, and we're going to start with Hopes and Dreams. Here we go. Right into it. And we get strings. Vibrant rhythm. Down by half step. Nice. Nope. Right? What is he doing now? So it's 2, 3, 4. He starts everything on the 2 and just moves right up the scale, y'all. So it's got long-term resolution for us. And it can loop as long as you need it to while you're playing the game. So reminds me of so many classic video games that I've heard, and that's a direct move. They changed keys, and I think they went up just by a half step. Right. Just right up where they went from before. Except instead of starting on C, it starts on C sharp. take, go. So up to the 6, then 5, 7, 1. It's really fun to listen to. And I think it's a really important part of the game to have a backing track that keeps your interest, but it doesn't overwhelm your brain, and it makes it fun to stay in the gameplay and to keep going, right? And part of the structure of these gaming songs that I've heard is that they'll take these 4-bar, 8-bar phrases and kind of repeat them and set them up so that they can just kind of loop from one to the other, or in the theater world we call it vamping. You know, we just, okay, we've gotten to the end of this section. Is this person still playing? Is everybody here? We're going to keep playing these 2 measures or 3 measures or 4 measures. And then, okay, we're all good to go, so we keep on going, right? In case something happens with a costume change or whatever in the theater. But here, there's no determined set of time for how long it takes a player to go through the actual gameplay. So the music has to be pliable to move with that, and that's part of how they create that pliable texture and that structure for the music to exist. You just kind of create these like Lego building blocks of 4 bars, 8 bars, 16 bars at a time, and you can either keep going or re-rack them and try it again. Wonderful stuff. So that song plays during what I read was the first phase of fighting against this final boss, Azrael. And then this next one, which is a shorter tune called Save the World, plays either later on in that same fight or it plays like as you're winning. I'm not exactly sure. But here is the follow-up to Hopes and Dreams. It is called Save the World. And let's see where this one takes off and where it takes us. Here we go. Same key. Nice. Bum, dum, dum, bum. Those are half steps. Yeah. Hang on. Dum, bum. Yeah. That's really cool. Where the other one was going on a long-term ascension, this one's going on a long-term chromatic descent. How about that? So now it's just do, te, la, sol, do, te. That's interesting. It gives me a very similar ring and a vibe. It's in the same key. They're now like A flat minor or G sharp minor, depending on how you want to write it. And this one with its descending bass line supports a similar overall sound and overall style and scope. And the 2 tracks remind me quite a bit of each other, but they have quite different bass lines. That's a really interesting accomplishment there. I wonder what symbology that long-term movement in the harmonic structure has. In Hopes and Dreams, it's aspirational, right? And then in Save the World, it's like it's a finality. So I'm interpreting Save the World, especially since it comes later, to be kind of the the completed, we're getting done with this. Maybe it's after you beat Osriel. Y'all let me know. I've never played the game, obviously. But it's really cool music. I read that Toby, our composer and game maker, was self-taught as a musician. And, a lot of times, self-taught or people that haven't been classically trained as musicians retain their intuitions, their instincts, and their feel for recreating some sounds and textures that they've heard by using their ears, and they're mimicking structures and ideas and styles that they've heard previously, and they're putting their own spin on it. The only difference with somebody like me, who's done a bachelor's and a master's and a doctorate in music theory and composition, is that I just have words and vocabulary for all of the different things that are going on, and a little more dedicated study to how they've been used and why and where and what types of emotions are elicited when we use these types of structures. And, in terms of writing, a lot of times composers that are learning all of this older technique and repertoire can get caught trying to reinvent the wheel and not do anything like what they've seen before, and they get stuck. That's me, y'all, especially in my younger years. But in other circumstances, we can get caught in rules or guidelines, or you have to write like this, or this chord has to go to here, because we've researched and seen how it often does move from one chord to another to another. It never has to, y'all. Remember this. The theory behind all of this music happens later. The music happens first. The theory is there to try to explain what the composers are doing. It's not there to give composers like a rule book that says you have to compose this certain way. It's not how it works, right? So I often really enjoy hearing self-taught musicians to see where their intuition takes them. Because a lot of times it's going to be slightly different from where I might go based on my training, as different from their training, right? And so a lot of times listening to music, especially like this, can be really exhilarating because of that fact. And I love coming to all of it. I love coming to the anime stuff, the prog stuff, here to the gaming stuff, rock and roll, all of this music that I have really ignored over the last several decades. And it's a continual, just rewarding trip to come and share my reactions to all of this music with all of you. And I thank you for hanging in with me and for sending in your suggestions and everything. This one just came to us and they said, we've got to look at more Undertale. And I'm glad that I did. So today we have heard some more music from Toby Fox from the game Undertale, Hopes and Dreams, and Save the World. It's been a good time, y'all. I thank you for being with me, and we'll see you next time on another edition of The Daily Doug.